Hello to our beautiful community, and welcome to Light the Torch, a space where we honor authors who are not just lighting a path for others, but igniting change through their stories. Today's conversation is one of courage, truth, and radical transformation. I will be your host, Ella, and I am honored to be joined by Connie Paglianiti, the powerful voice behind From the Shadows into the Light. Connie's story takes us behind the scenes of red carpets and celebrity events into a world many dream of, and yet is also a story of hidden struggle, public fallout, and the extraordinary journey back to self. And this isn't just a book, it's a movement. So let's welcome Connie. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It is truly a pleasure. So, this is what we're going to do. I will ask you some questions so you can tell us a little bit more about yourself, about the book, and that would be it. So let's see. We can start by the beginning. So, Connie, you built a dazzling career at the epicenter of high profile events. But what did that life look like on the outside? And what did it feel on the inside?
Okay. I started doing events when I was about 18 to 20, mainly through charities. And I worked in other fields as well, including overseas in England. In early 2000, I became president of a precinct here in Melbourne to represent the precinct, but also to build Little Italy in Melbourne. I loved it so much that after 7 years of being their president, I resigned and I started an events management company. That was going really, really well until 2012 when I went into business with this person whom I thought had the same ideas and vision for these events, bringing the modern Italy into Australia. I didn't realize until it was far too late that this person wasn't who he said he was. He was a con man. And he left me in huge, huge, huge debts. At the time, I couldn't see straight. I was lost. I was broken. I was depressed. So I turned to gambling. And at the same time, I stole money from a very, very dear client of over 20 years. I paid the debts with that money, but then I kept stealing more money to feed my gambling addiction, which eventually I got caught. But in between all that, I tried to revive my business. So I started doing all these events, bringing Hollywood stars to Melbourne, such as Susan Sarandon, Sophia Loren, Goldie Hawn, and Jane Seymour. And those events were very successful. So my reputation out there was amazing. And I had two facades. I had the successful, happy-go-lucky businesswoman, Connie. And then I had the broken, depressed, suicidal Connie. And it was only in front of those machines that I could actually let the happy face go and be myself. I hid it from my family. I hid it from my friends. So when it actually came out, they were all shocked. Now, the people that were around me for my events, they left me. They weren't my friends anymore. In actual fact, a couple of them gave me the criminal tag. But all the dear friends that I've had for a long, long time, who actually knew me, that wasn't me, they stuck by me and they're still around. My husband still stuck around because he said, Connie, that's not the Connie I know. So we're still married after 26 years. We've got a beautiful child who's 23. Because I do everything late in life. I left home at 23. I got married at 42. I had a child at 45. And then at 61, I went to jail. At 67, I graduated from university. And during all this period of my downfall, and once I went into jail, both my husband and some of the educators in jail said, Connie, you've got an amazing story that could help people. Write it. And my husband said, this must have happened for a purpose, or maybe your calling is to help others. So the book is twofold. one, I hope it can help others not to go down the same path as myself, reach out and ask for help. But also was very cathartic for me because my child was very unhappy. I had a very violent dad. Being Southern Italian, strict, I was the eldest child in the family. So all the responsibilities were lied with me. So that's how it all started.
Thank you, Connie. Thank you for sharing your story. Your words are so powerful, and the fact that you're sharing this and you're sharing your own journey and your own learning and your process, I think it's really important. And thank you for sharing that.
My
And
pleasure.
I do want to ask you, what was that turning point when you knew you couldn't keep hiding your struggle anymore? What made you realize?
I think it was October 23. My mum got diagnosed, who was one of my biggest supporters with my husband and my son. She got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4. We didn't know how long she had to live. Because after being locked away for 2.5 years in jail, I had to lock myself away for another 2.5 years in my own home because of the shame, the stigma, the embarrassment. So I didn't want to go out. So the only places I really went to was my family, and a little bit of shopping. So when this happened in October 23, I thought, she's not going to be around for much longer. Am I going to be stuck in those 4 doors still? I've got nowhere to go because once she's gone, I'm not going to her house anymore. So that dawned on me, maybe I need to do something about it. And that's when I decided to go back to university. And then this great opportunity arose with She Rises about this book. I got interviewed, got accepted. And I thought, well, this was meant to be. So I think everything fell into place at the same time. My mum died January 24, so she only had about 3 months with us. So I tried to spend as much time with her during those 3 months. She actually went into hospital on the day of my actual birthday, and just over a week later, she died. So that was the turning point for me about writing this book and basically getting out of the house and saying, okay, I've made a mistake. I've paid the price. Now, if people have an issue with me, they have to deal with it. It's not my problem anymore. I accept my story. I accept that I've made a huge mistake. So now I'm out there trying to get a movement going, because one of the hardest things for me too was that I couldn't find work. Once you got that criminal record number, it doesn't matter how good you are, people don't give you a second chance. And even if you want to be a cleaner these days, they still do criminal record checks. So there's no hope. And look, I don't know anybody, and I'm sure you probably don't either, who hasn't made one mistake in life. It's just that some are bigger than others. Some get caught, some don't. So I want to reach out to employers, work with them about giving these people a second chance in life. Give them the 4 E's, which is employment, environment, both home and work, empowerment, and education. So, because I think if you give those 4 E's to these people, including myself, I took it upon myself to do that. But some people don't have the same opportunities I have. Some people don't have the same support that I have. So it becomes harder for them. So what happens is they come out of jail or out of addiction, and because they don't have the support, they keep making the same mistake and keep going back in. We don't want that, because it costs the community a lot of money. It costs the governments a lot of money, and that money could be better spent.
Thank you, Connie, and I'm so sorry for your loss. And I thank you for sharing these important words, for speaking so publicly about this, because there are things that still need to be done from the government, and I appreciate that you share your story. And now I do want to hear your story from your own perspective of your own identity? How does it shift your sense of identity, both emotionally and spirituality?
It's made me accept me for what I am, with all the faults that I have. It's made me more sympathetic, and it's given me a lot of empathy towards other people who don't have the same opportunities I have. So whether they got drug addictions, alcohol addiction, gambling addiction, I have a lot of empathy for them, because until this happened to me, I didn't know what addiction was. The only addiction I had was chocolates. And that's not really serious apart from the calories and the sugar content and the health. But yeah, that's the only addiction I ever had. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I didn't do drugs. So I didn't understand that. And even when I lost friends to suicide to do with drugs, I didn't understand why they did it, because I couldn't understand why they were being so selfish and weak in committing suicide when they had a family. And it's only when I got addicted to these gambling machines, and I came close to doing it as well, but because I had a young son, that's what stopped me from doing it. So I got a lot more understanding and a lot more empathy going through what I've gone through.
Thank you, Connie, and thank you for the importance of raising awareness of this. And before we go further, I want to take a moment to honor what your book and what you are doing. As your book is not just a personal memoir, but it is an invitation. You are reshaping how we view addiction, how we perceive failure and second chances. And through your initiative, Chainless and Fearless, you are creating real impact in communities and corporations alike. So thank you for showing us what redemption really looks like, and that there's still a long way to go. Thank you.
100%. And I still got a long way to go. I mean, I haven't gambled for 7 years, but what took me to gambling is no longer there. And that's helped. But some people, like I said, don't have the same opportunities as I have. So if I can help at least one person, I'm talking to a mother at the moment who's got a son going through what I've gone through. So I'm trying to guide her, because don't blame the person that's got the addiction. Be there to support them. Don't tell them what to do. Listen to what they have to say, and let them talk to you when they're ready, but be there. That's all I can say.
That's such a very important part of the process. And I want to ask you, what was the first thing you did when you decided to rebuild your life? How did healing actually look for you day by day?
Look, when I came out of jail, I thought my life would go back to normal, sort of. It didn't. So I had to sit back and think, okay, what am I going to do? So I started doing crafting. So I started making handmade cards, quilts, and stuff like that. And the reason why I did that is because I could stay inside the house and not having to go out. And like I said, it was only when my mum was diagnosed with the cancer that I actually decided to come out, to talk to people. I'm actually part of the Gamblers Help Respin program. So I go out and talk to not only people with addiction, also counsellors, but also people who have family or friends that have got an addiction. And I share my story with them, hoping that I'll help them. So that's helped me come out of my own shell, take responsibility for my action, and own my story. And I think that's what's given me the empowerment and the resilience to keep going and go back to uni. I mean, I was the grandmother in the university class because I was 66 and the other students were 18, 20 years old. So on the night that I graduated, which was last week, it was a great moment for me to be up on stage and receive my diploma. So
And
now
I,
I've got twofold. So I do the speaking about empowerment and the 4Es and talk to through a respin, but I also have an online management course, event management course that I teach others, because event management is very physical. And at my age, being so tiny, it's a lot of heavy lifting. So I can't really do the physical side of things like I used to when I was in my 20s and 30s and 40s. I do small events that if people come to me, but now I'm actually teaching online. So for aspiring event planners, managers, etc., that I do free masterclass and then they can go into my program.
it's important to mention that all of this process, it was not just recovery, but you created something powerful with Shameless and Fearless. So, what inspired that leap from pain to purpose?
There's millions of people worldwide that aren't employed because of their criminal record. They've got the expertise, they've got the knowledge to work in places, but these people are not given an opportunity. And I've been doing a lot of research, and there's a company in America that actually does a really, really good job. They go into prisons and teach people to code. When these prisoners come out, 85% of them get jobs in coding, which is amazing. And more companies should come on board to do that. And that's what I want to try and encourage. That's what I want to try and work with governments and human resources, corporates, give these people a second chance, because there's a shortage in skills at the moment. I don't know about America, but definitely in Australia with various different things. But there are people out there with these skills. Employ them. Now, look, I'm not saying if you're a drug addicted person, you're not going to put them in a pharmacy. You're not going to put them in a hospital where there's drugs. You don't put temptation in front of them. But they can certainly work in an office. They can certainly work in a retail shop. I stole money. Now, I know I'm not going to do it, but you don't know that I'm not going to do it again. So don't put me in front of, for example, in a bank or where I handle money. Mind you, you can, because in jail I did handle money because I worked in a cafe where we had to deal with cash. And at the end of the day, we had to balance. So I can be trusted, but you don't know that. So don't put me with money, or have checks there that if I'm doing something with money, there's somebody else that oversees it as well. So there's always ways you can get around this. And that's why I'm doing it, because I applied for so many jobs and got rejected. Eventually, I went for a job with the state government to hand out pamphlets at the state election. I got the job. It wasn't the ideal job that I wanted, but it was something. They sent me the training manual. Within 3 days of getting the training manual, I received a phone call from the supervisor asking me what my criminal record was, because I was always upfront about that. I didn't want to waste their time, and I didn't want to waste my time either. When I told this supervisor what my criminal record was, she said, "I'm so sorry, but I have to retract the job." You can imagine how I felt. I mean, it was handing out papers at polling booths. I said to her, I said, "What do you think I'm going to steal?" She said, "I'm sorry, it's part of our policy." So that menial job was taken away from me because of my number. I don't want people to feel rejected where they go further and commit suicide or commit more crime and keep going back into jail. I want to try and stop that. Look, I'm only one person. I'm hoping everybody will get onto this movement and make it bigger than what I am.
Yes, it sure will be, and it's already happening with your book. You're raising this movement, and I think this is a big step. And what you're doing is truly important, and it's for sure making a difference. So thank you, Connie. Thank you for your transparency, for your strength, and most importantly, for your voice.
Thank you.
Because your story is proof that our lowest moments don't define us. And it's what we do after that shapes our legacy. That what you're doing is what will shape your legacy. So thank you for that, Connie. It's really important.
Thank you. I really
And
appreciate you.
thank you for being here. And to everyone tuning in, From the Shadows into the Light is available now on Amazon. So if you've ever felt trapped by shame, failure, or fear, this book is a lifeline. So go grab your copy and take that first step toward your own light. And once again, Connie, thank you for your time and for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Ella. I appreciate it. And I look forward to getting the physical copy.
Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. And until next time, please keep rising, keep shining, and we'll see you at the next Light the Torch. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.